The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
What is up, everyone? Hopefully you're having a fantastic Sunday. Hour number 2 off and running here on First and 12. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry with you. And, Alex, my body is sluggish in vanilla cougar tail.
You got
sluggish.
One. Yeah, you got one. It was tough because I did the thing where I was like, you know what? I'm going to go down and grab one. And they were all sold out. It's fine. You know why? Because vanilla is a cop-out, Mitch. All right, vanilla flavored frosting on a cougar tail. I don't know. Now, was it half and half? Was it just full vanilla, or what did you do?
It was just full vanilla. Now, the announcement post was kind of confusing because they made it seem like it was half and half.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to be.
It was just half sold of their traditional maple bar, and then half was vanilla. But it was just. Honestly, it was subpar. It wasn't that great.
I love how we're breaking it down. Look, you could do better,
best,
BYU concessions. You could do better than this.
The best cougar tail, I will stand on this mountain, this stance. The bacon-covered cougar tail was elite.
Well,
that thing was S tier.
Oh, hey, great start to our second hour of First and 12, talking donuts, talking 18-inch donuts.
You don't ever do that on a Sunday morning? Get a nice donut and a chocolate milk?
No, listen, it's a big move. You know, you do a cinnamon roll or you do a cougar tail that you bring from the game the night before. Fine. Mitch,
it's a big move.
you're gonna bigly. I could just see you like going, look, okay. We're going to start the show off. Hold on. I need 4.5 minutes to eat this giant vanilla donut first that I left over from last night. No problem.
Yes, that is accurate.
All right. BYU gets a historic win over Kansas State. I'm not being hyperbolic by saying that either. It was the biggest win in the program's history over a top 15 team in the AP poll. Kansas State came in at number 13 on the season. And you're going to hear a lot of people saying, yeah, Kansas State was overrated. Look, that's what you get at the beginning, at the front end of the college football season, Mitch, right? But now, okay, erase from your mind that BYU won by 29 points. Let's just go back and look. I'm going to cover up all the other stats and then just tell you what BYU did on offense. 241 total yards of offense. Right there off the bat, you go, oh, it's probably a loss. Passing yards, 149. Rush yards, 92. They only go 3 for 9 on third downs on the conversions. They only ran 48 plays to Kansas State's 72. The time of possession was in favor of Kansas State. All these things are right there in front of you, and yet BYU gets a 29-point win. I've never seen such a disparity, Mitch, from points to yards from the offense. And I'm not saying that the offense is like anemic or anything. It's just exactly what was put out in front of them. They had the defense creating 3 turnovers that turned into scores on each one of them. One was a scoop and score, and then the other 2 turned into quick touchdowns for BYU. All of this being said, Jake Retzlaff, an efficient 15 for 21, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no fumbles, 71% completion percentage, 162 is his quarterback rating. It's very efficient. You can't say anything about it. And then on top of it, the run game, Mitch, Sione Aimoah showing up looking, dare I say, shades of Tyler Algier in the churning of those legs and getting that 24-yard touchdown there toward the end that put the nail in the coffin to Kansas State was – that's awesome from a guy who is a true freshman, Mitch. It was really a nice showing. And, again, the numbers don't jump off the paper to you except for the fact that BYU put up 38 points and only gave up 9 to Kansas State.
Kansas State entered the game, Alex. They had 11 consecutive games where they scored at least 28 points or more. That was the longest streak of that many points in the nation. They were putting up big numbers offensively.
They score.
And for BYU's defense to hold them to 9 points was huge. Because I thought after the first 2 drives, Alex, that Kansas State was going to have a field day on BYU, but then they
Yeah.
had to settle for field goals. And I think that was as critical as the wild swing of momentum that we saw at the end of the first half. Holding K-State to those 2 field goals was massive. So BYU tightened up when they needed to defensively. This is a really good defensive unit, and I truly believe that they are going to travel to any game, any setting, whether it's a top 15 opponent like K-State or they go on the road to face a Baylor next week or UCF down the road. BYU's defense is going to show up, and they're going to give the offense a chance to win. I mean, you win a ball game, BYU does, over a top 15 team with a running back who 4 weeks ago was the 5th string running back.
Yeah.
And that's just an impressive, that alone. And so any way you can get it, that's all that matters. And what's so great about this league, even though it has its flaws, we know that because who truly is the elite team, but you don't need style points. You just got to win this league, and you got to just keep stacking up those wins, keep grinding, and just get it done. And BYU, to this point, is just getting it done. And that final score is just, it registers, whoa, like, wow, how did BYU pull this off? And they're going to get more attention nationally because I think people are going to try to deep dive and figure out what's going on out here. But Jay Hill, this defense is really good, and the offense is finding sources of production that people didn't expect coming into the year.
Our colleague on KSL 5 Television, Sam Farnsworth, tweeted this out after the game. I don't know if you saw the picture of it. It was Jake Retzlaff standing kind of in front of the student section.
Yeah.
And the question was, and I'll pose it to you, Mitch. It was like, "Hey, Cougar Nation, are you convinced now, or does this solidify what Jake Retzlaff is for you?" Because you're still going to get people who go, "Yeah, but," because the numbers weren't, like I said, popping off of the page at you. But this guy's not making the mistakes that we even saw even last week. And you see the games that he's had, touchdowns with no mistakes. It's really this week. You saw the first game of the season that he had no interceptions, no fumbles. But even like last week, the interception didn't really matter. The bad game that he had, quote unquote, the guy's got 9 touchdowns and 3 picks on the season, Mitch. He's extremely efficient right now. And his quarterback rating, I know, I mean, I don't love, leaning on this all the time, but at the very least it shows you that a guy is being productive and taking care of the football. And, of course, you heard, Kalani Sitake last hour talking about that exact thing. He's like, well, okay, what did Jake do? All right, yeah, hey, look, he took care of the football. And he threw 2 touchdowns. Like, think about how big of a swing that was when he threw that touchdown pass to Chase Roberts in the second quarter to go into the half at 17-6. Like, what a phenomenal, way for them to end that half. I've never seen a turnaround like that in a game that quickly.
Jake he showed a great feel of capitalizing on those momentum swings, taking the shots, but he played within the offense. And I thought Kalani hit it best that, he did a nice job managing the offense. In some respects, he's a game manager. He's got the ability to have some explosive plays, but he also, among those 6 incompletions, there were a couple drops, but there were also some poorly thrown balls that were a little bit inaccurate for wide open targets. But you're gonna get a mixed bag at pretty much every game with Retzlaff. But if he's not throwing picks and he's not fumbling the football, and they pick their spots selectively for him to go off on the quarterback run, I thought he had a nice game. And the passing yards, really you put an asterisk next to it because BYU had a lot of drives where they started in Kansas State territory, so there wasn't many yards to gain, but he was opportunistic when he got those chances, and he connected with Darius Lashford, he connected with Chase Roberts. So I like what Jake did, and I feel again that he has shut the door once again on just any talk about entertaining the idea that Bohannon should be the starter. Because I still think going into Big 12 play there was that conversation. Now, I mean, he's now 4-4 as a starter. I didn't think we'd have that conversation where we're talking about Jake Retzlaff as a 500 starter after starting 0-4.
Right.
Now he's 4-4. So he's had a wild turn.
And honestly, like last year was last year.
Yep.
And we talk about that as a starter. I mean, the guy's 4-0 this year, and frankly has had the biggest wins in his entire career, not just because they're the only wins that he's had, but I mean, think about what this looks like on paper. Think about what Kansas State does. You brought it up because what they do as a team is they come in, they usually just they like to take control of the line of scrimmage, and man, even when they were losing, like you could just tell how good that front is on defense.
Oh, yeah.
BYU's offensive line had a hard time keeping those guys at bay, even when the game was well at hand. And so, man, this is a really, really talented team. I thought they called a really good game too. I mean, man, it was impressive. And Jake Retzlaff is, I don't want to really label him as just the game manager, but that's what you're being asked to do right now. It's like highlight these guys. Get the ball to Chase Roberts, touchdown. Get the ball to Darius Lassiter, touchdown. I mean, these are the guys you just keep feeding, right? And then hand the ball off to these guys, that are getting the job done. It's not Miles Davis. It's not the guys who are injured right now. It's a true freshman and another freshman who are being asked to do a lot. And then Enoch Nawahine came in late in the game. But, I'm not sure what this is going to look like, long term for BYU. But, man, Retzlaff, I'm watching the highlights as I'm kind of going over this thing because he made some exceptional throws under some pressure, and they brought pressure. They were quick. They had some quick linebackers, and they got to him quickly, and he was still able to make some accurate throws.
I could still see BYU dropping some games on the road, especially this season, but I feel really good about where that defense is right now, and going down to the ground level with about 90 seconds left on the game clock. Jay Hill and his wife, they go into the elevator, and we were all in that elevator. You could just tell that he's got a real comfort with this defense right now, and he loves that the depth that they have too, because they were shorthanded. Evan Johnson goes out with a shoulder issue. He was a starter for BYU in the secondary, and then they got some guys banged up in the game, but BYU's got depth at that defensive side of the ball, and even offensively too, with Sione Aimoa emerging as well. But BYU is not suddenly going to go undefeated. I think that's one thing that Cougar fans got to realize is that this being in the Big 12, you don't have to worry about chasing perfection. You just got to keep getting better every single week somehow, and hope that it works with wins. But you don't need to be perfect in this league to win it and go to the playoff. But getting this win, though, gives you a nice margin for error where, this was a game everyone thought you were going to lose. Now you got that one in your back pocket. You're on a good spot here to maybe make a run and be a surprise contender in this league.
You rode down the elevator with Jay Hill and his wife. Is that what you said? I rode down the elevator with Danny Ainge.
Oh,
and he looked over
at.
No, it was just Ainge. It was just Danny Ainge, and he goes. By the way, the Woj. When people said, "Is this the back of Woj's head?" I was like, "Absolutely not. Why would that be the case?" And then when it ended up being him, I was like, "Whoa, no." But Danny Ainge goes, gets in the elevator, looks at Jake Hatch and I around the elevator. He goes, "Well, that was a wild game." And I was like, "Yeah, at the very least, it was. It wasn't just a wild game; it was just an insane result." And man, you saw some guys coming in on the offensive line who getting their first starts, and it was, and then to see Sione Moa, like I said, I mean, that was a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun in the stadium, and it was. I don't even think BYU fans are expecting something this wild, but that's what they got. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We're going to hear from Kyle Whittingham, his reaction to his Utes going 4-0 and getting their first conference win officially in the Big 12 and doing it in style on the road at Oklahoma State. And Stillwater's a tough place to play, and the Utes made it look almost easy, man. It was awesome. All right, we'll take a break. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio. This is First and 12.
JJ and Alex are deep in Utah strategy and reaction. What the Utes did right and what they need to do better. JJ and Alex, Monday from 3 to 6 on the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. It is First and 12. Happy Sunday to you. The KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio is where you can find this program every week. All brought to you by the folks at Macy's Grocery Store. Happy shopping. Let's jump into the reaction that Kyle Whittingham had in that postgame as the Utah Utes get their first win in conference play in the Big 12 against a pretty darn good Oklahoma State team down there in Stillwater.
All right, made that a lot more dramatic than we needed to, but we hung on, got the win. Proud of our guys. Didn't always play as smart as we needed to. Had a chance to really put the game away completely. let them back in it, credit them for continuing to fight and battle. Very proud of freshman quarterback. He's, to go, when you put things in perspective, you come into a number 14 team in the country's home stadium with a true freshman queue, and come away with a win. That's pretty impressive. And so proud of our guys, proud of him, proud of Mekhi Bernard. Gave us another huge day, nearly 200 yards. We were the more physical football team without question. Rushed for 2.5. Gave up about 50 yards or less rushing, so that tells the tail of the line of scrimmage right there. Made some nice plays up the field on the balls at times, and then we let some things, the quarterback stuck some things in there that we just didn't play as well. But overall, great start to the Big 12 conference schedule, and it's just every week now, a couple byes mixed in, but we've got to get ready for a tough game next week. Apparently we came out of the game pretty healthy. We'll find out a lot more tomorrow. We got some bumps and bruises, but I think we came out with nothing significant, I hope. Cam, I know the timeline. When he's ready, he'll be ready. That's all I can say. We were hoping he'd be ready this week. It was literally a game time decision. It wasn't game day. It was game time. When we came in the locker room after all the warm-ups, had a little conference, and decided that gave us the best chance to win was Isaac. Cam agreed, and that's the direction we went. So that's that. Proud of the defense. Defense played lights out up until midpoint of that fourth quarter. Then we got a little soft. But anyway, good win, really good win, and just got to keep going, 1 week at a time. Questions?
How did you handle the reps at quarterback this week?
We split them. The days were different. It wasn't the same every single day. So Cam took the majority a couple of the days. Isaac took the majority of the other 2 days. So that's how we handled it. As we got closer to the game and Cam wasn't progressing as much as we had thought he would, then we shifted the balance of the reps.
Coach, you're now 29-4 when you run for at least 200 yards since 2019. What does that say about your team and how you go about your business?
Well, it says we should try to run for 200 yards every week, that's for sure, obviously. But it's our MO. Our MO is to be a physical run team, play action pass off that run game. And you saw the touchdown to Brent Keith. That was maybe the biggest play of the game, certainly one of the biggest plays of the game, down where we were trying to milk the clock, and they were stacking the box with every defender, and Brent. It was a great catch, great concentration. But yeah, if you can run the football, I mean, we controlled the football for 47 minutes or 42 minutes and change, and they were 17 and change. That's a huge discrepancy, huge. We make 22 or 3 first downs, they make 11. And so, again, there's some really statistical imbalances that say we should have won that game by a lot more, but that's how it is. You never discount a win, particularly against a ranked opponent on the road. And so, like I said, I couldn't be more proud of our football team right now.
Kyle, what were the factors that ultimately went into the decision not to play Cam this week? Because it seemed like every indication was that he was going to start. What
was those indications? I missed those.
There was just pregame reports that.
From who? Not from me. We got a mole in the building. I don't know, but no, it was give and take the whole week. There was no point during the week where we thought, yeah, he's going to go. It was literally all the way up until we were 20 minutes from kickoff when we went in after warm-ups.
And is it an issue with gripping the football?
Well, we don't ever talk about injuries as far as what they are or the extent or anything like that, but we just felt that Isaac gave us the best chance to win today.
Were you guys able to slow down Ollie Gordon today?
Well, we've never faced him, so it was our first time facing him, and the tape last year is very impressive. Hasn't really got on track yet this year. I'm sure he will, but he hasn't yet. And so we were pleased that he waited one more week to get on track, because he's a terrific back, over 2,000 yards of offense last year. But this year he just hasn't found his groove just yet. But he will. He's too good a player not to.
Kyle, was there anything different in those last 2 touchdowns from Oklahoma State where the defense changed, or was it just they found opportunities?
They made some plays, and we didn't play as well as we needed to. Yeah. So,
how big is a spark plug Mekhi Bernard been for this offense the past 2 weeks, given you haven't had Cam and you have a young quarterback there?
Huge for us. He's been instrumental to our success this whole season. We got to be careful. He's not, as I said many times, he's not a 25 carry a game back. I don't know, what did he carry it today? You guys should know. Should be right at the tip of your tongue.
25.
Okay, that's max. That's probably more. That's probably about 5 carries more than we would have chose to. But he's so good. He's a terrific running back. But it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So we got to try to make sure we give him the reps accordingly.
What did you like about Isaac's performance, and where does he need to improve?
I liked that he just kept hanging in there, never got down on himself, threw a couple picks, didn't flinch. You saw his ability to run. He ripped off that 40 or 50-yard run. That was huge at that point in time. Dipped his shoulder and made another tough run down in the red zone that got us the first down. He's just a competitor. He's a competitor, just like Cam is. They're both just complete competitive guys that want to win. And very confident guys, both of them.
Is there any competition there during the week?
Is there competition this week?
Is the quarterback position open?
Do we have a quarterback controversy? Is that what you're trying to stir up?
Avoid that, but
you want to stir that up? I'll take the 5th on that because of you. I don't know. PK, I don't think so. Cam Rising's won 2 championships for us. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and when he's ready to go, that most likely is the direction we will go. Can't see that being any different. I guess you never say never, but can't see that changing.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Let's go to the Eagles at the Sphere. They're on. They started last night, PJ said. If I had a private jet, I'd go down there right now. Come on, you got access to one. Access? Come on.
Yeah. Good stuff from Kyle Whittingham. A far different tone, demeanor from Mike Gundy, who, by the way, did you know they were hired 7 days between each other?
Oh, boy.
20 years of coaching. It was a good coaching matchup to see Witt versus Gundy. And it is one that I think the Big 12 can market going forward as long as these guys are there. I mean, who knows how long Witt will be with Scally, clearly the coach in waiting officially now. But it was a cool coaching matchup to see those two, legends of their schools going up against each other and duking it out.
And they remind you of one another too. They don't want to give away too much. They don't want to do too much in terms of giving it away to the other team or talking too. You can't be too nice about your opponent after a win or a loss, because otherwise you're showing your cards. But yes, interesting breakdown from Coach Witt. We'll take another break here. We'll come back. Oh, my goodness, we've got tons to break down here still. We've got our power rankings, Mitch. We have what the next week of the schedule looks like in the Big 12. If you thought this week is wild, it's going to be wild again. Oh, boy, don't look up Parker Kingston and the barfing situation after that insane punt return for the touchdown. Just don't do it, all right? Don't just do yourself a favor. He gets sick. That's all you need to know. All right, we'll take the break here. More to go right around the corner. It is 1st and 12.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. 1st and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back into 1st and 12. This segment, folks, man, the reactions on our YouTube, our podcast, emails, the power rankings every week conjure up some emotions from our listeners, and we appreciate it. It's why we do this show. The power rankings, man, it makes you take some crazy pills, because when we put this list together, Alex, it makes you go, really? That team that high or that team that low? But
well, I need to emphasize, too, when we do these rankings, this is not like your top 25 where you're like, we have overreactions. Like 1 week you can have a team pretty high up there, and then we'll put them at the and we'll put them in the basement if they look like garbage. And that's our commitment to you. Insanity in our power rankings, because this conference is insane currently.
Let's get to those power rankings right now.
The Big 12 Power Rankings, a weekly rank of all 16 programs, from the elite to the bottom dwellers.
All right, Mitch, let's should we go? Let's just go from the top to the very bottom.
Let's do it.
Especially because the top is got a couple of teams that we're pretty familiar with. The University of Utah taking care of business at Oklahoma State. No reason to take them away from anywhere. From that number one spot, especially because they're doing this winning, Mitch, with Isaac Wilson. He's not the number one guy. And that's what's even more impressive is they're asking things from Mekhi Bernard in the absence of Cam Rising. And they're asking things of the freshman quarterback, Isaac Wilson. I think it's just a tremendous education for this kid week in and week out. To get a win like that, it's one thing to win at Utah State and to have kind of a nice little fun week there. But to be, I think, probably get the rug pulled out from under you partway through the week and they say, hey, you're going to be the guy, and have to go down to Stillwater and get a win, and you do it, that's awesome. Utah number 1 right now, no reason to change that around at all. I am absolutely blown away by number 2, and I think it's exactly right. And frankly, I feel like this team that's in the number 2 spot here could sneak up and stay at number 1 if they can string some wins together. And, man, it's a tough-looking team.
That's the Iowa State Cyclones, who are 3-0, and they absolutely crushed Arkansas State. No surprise there. Mm-hmm. They completed their non-conference schedule this week. Iowa State has got all the pieces. They got all the star power at the key spots, quarterback, wide receiver, running back, and they've got a nasty defense. Iowa State, no one's going to talk about them, but they are going to be a force in this league this season. Matt Campbell's got his best team since 2020. Mm-hmm. He's talked about that quite a bit, and they look really good to start it out. And I think they deserve to be at number 2, so we're getting ahead of everyone else and putting them near the top.
And I'll say, too, I got a lot of crap from Utah fans when I said that Iowa State coming to Salt Lake City was going to be a real test for the Utes, and people kind of made fun of me before the season started. And now it's starting to look more and more like that could be an even more important game than this one was this past weekend.
That could be 2 undefeated teams.
Yeah.
It really could. You look at the schedules.
Here's the benefit. They're going to be in Salt Lake, and I don't know. Maybe by then you'll have Cam Rising's finger feeling a little bit better. Number 3 in the power poll, Mitch. I want to poke a hole in this because it's so funny to see him rise up in this ranking so quickly. But, man, BYU number 3 in our power rankings. The highest they've ever been in our Big 12 power rankings, Mitch.
That is true. And, yes, I almost get a little uneasy seeing BYU this high, but I think they deserve it. I mean, you look at the body of work to this point, some of the wins that they've had, wins on the road, 2 in non-conference, one of which against the Power 4 in SMU, and then beating the doors off of K-State. That needs to be accounted for. So BYU, to this point, you look at the body of work and how they're trending, I think they deserve to be in the top 3 because you look at the rest of the Big 12 power rankings, you go to number 4, Kansas State, they lost to BYU. You can't put them ahead of the Cougars. And so it makes a lot of sense putting BYU at 3.
Yeah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State is 5. Those are 2 teams who are still pretty darn good, but had bad weekends against their respective opponents. UCF is 6, and I think that's fine too because they had a bye week, but they could end up being one of those teams that keep sneaking up here. One team that you and I both are like, I can't believe that they're staying in the middle of this poll, but you kind of have to keep them there because they keep winning somehow. University of Colorado. CU just getting absolutely I don't know. It's not luck to win in the fashion that they did. It's partly that Baylor was absolute garbage there at the end of that game. But, yeah, Colorado is 7, and I don't disagree with it.
I would like to see Colorado have success and maybe have, Coach Prime stay there after this year. I think
that's hilarious. Mitch, that's hilarious.
Well, the thing is that Colorado is good for college football because they open up the sport to new audiences that have never consumed college football. And I know some people in college football, the traditional media of the sport, they look at that and go, why is Colorado Baylor on Fox and prime time? Like, it's insane. But they are a massive attraction, and they are fascinating. Like, we are just every week. I mean, you go to any press box, and whatever Colorado's doing, it's generating buzz.
Yep.
I mean, people care about the Buffs, and I think that's just whenever you have those type of teams, especially in this league, that's always fighting for, I think, respect among the power conference structure. I think that's a good thing. Number 8, Texas Tech. Man, they've made a climb, and for good reason. These last 2 weeks, they've looked really good, taking care of business at home. Last week against North Texas, and then Big 12 play against ASU, a very good, much improved ASU team. So nice win for Texas Tech, who's surging after a slow start to the season.
Yeah, number 9, Arizona State. I don't know how good Kenny Dillingham's guys are. Maybe they're going to come back to earth at some point, but yeah, 3-1 on the season. Still, they had to take 2 tough trips to Texas. First to San Marcos last week to get a win, and then go back to Lubbock again just a week later, and that's a tough ask. And that team, I think, is still a lot better, like you said, than last year, but we'll see how they do the rest of the way. Arizona is 10. West Virginia, they're starting to move up a little bit in this poll. I think that they are better than that 11th ranking, but we'll see because you have to still perform. But West Virginia beating up Kansas and just absolutely rubbing salt in the Jayhawks' wounds. It's not good for them, but there you go. There's your number 11 team, West Virginia. I could see them climbing up even higher in the next few weeks here, Mitch.
I agree. They've had a tough schedule, and they stretched themselves in non-conference, playing two rivals in Penn State and Pitt, and they came up short in those. But, hey, they're 1-0 in Big 12 play.
Yep.
And as we know in this 12-team playoff era, it's all about just winning your league, and the rest will take care of itself. Number 12, the Cincinnati Bearcats, who had a big win, their first Big 12 home win as a Big 12 member over Houston. Number 13, Baylor. There could be a case to make them a little bit lower because the hot seat watch with Dave Aranda, but Baylor, they had a big win last week over Air Force, who's a really bad team, but I don't see them being much of a threat in the Big 12. They could spoil someone's day if they, rally around Dave Aranda, but it's not looking good in Waco.
I don't know if they want to rally around Dave Aranda. Rallying around Dave Aranda so far has not gotten them much.
It's so surprising because
So
that guy
weird.
was on the doorstep reportedly of being the USC coach before Lincoln Riley, and now he's just an afterthought in this league.
Yeah, well, and ask Sonny Dykes, how quickly you can fall from going to the national championship game or, winning the Big 12, and then the next time people talking about you give up 66 to SMU, and people go, hey, you should probably lose your job. So TCU and Sonny Dykes guys at 14, and you can make a case they might even be worse than that just because of how bad they showed up this week. And it was like, hey, we lost a game against UCF. We had a nice game, but we still lost it. Then we show up. I just didn't even know. When a coach is absolutely at a loss and doesn't know why his team showed up and played as flat as they did, and then he gets kicked out of a ball game, that's not good. That's not good. And guess what? The only reason that you're not at the very bottom of this thing is because you have two teams that are behind you in the power rankings that are actually in a worse spot than you are, TCU. Number 15, Kansas. Again, I did not think that BYU would be 4-0 and Kansas would be 1-3 through 4 games. But man, the Lance Leipold's got a lot to figure out there in Kansas, and it might be a cursed program because this is more along the lines historically of what the Kansas Jayhawks do in football.
Well, and Jalen Daniels just continues to look he's struggling. And
Below
every
average,
week he's having an opportunity to put together a game-winning drive, and he coughs up the football, whether it's a pick, a fumble. He can't take care of the ball, and when you can't do that as a quarterback, it really raises questions about can you stay on the field. And they're at a situation now where with no Jason Bean, who do you turn to? You got a bunch of freshmen behind Jalen Daniels, so you're kind of stuck with him. And I mean, that sounds crazy to say that, stuck with Jalen Daniels, but he has been nowhere near his old self that we saw 2 years ago. And the number 16, Houston, for a brief moment last week, you thought, oh, they did a nice job getting that win for Willie Fritz against Rice, his first win, but then they came back to earth, got thumped by Cincinnati 34-0. Houston Cougs. It's going to be a long season in Houston. But we got to take a break, though. The season's only getting into the thick of this with league play. We got a loaded Big 12 schedule coming up next week. Let's preview Week 5 right here on First and 12. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry, KSL News Radio, and the KSL Sports Zone.
Can't get enough BYU football? Listen to Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper takes your calls Monday nights from 6 to 7 on KSL News Radio. Podcast at kslnewsradio.com.
Yeah, join Mitch and Matt Biamonte tomorrow on Cougar Nation. JJ and Alex, of course, the show that I do on the KSL Sports Zone with Jeremiah Jensen from KSL 5 Television. We'll have quite a bit to talk about, so you can, of course, tune into that right before Cougar Nation. So we've got you covered top to bottom. Hey, Mitch, our program is brought to you by Macy's every week. And Macy's Grocery Store, appreciate their partnership on the program. Happy shopping. Week 5 of the college football season. And week 2 of official conference play for most of the teams here in the conference. Let's start things off here. We don't know exactly what time. We'll find out today. BYU and Baylor face off down there in Waco. This is a Baylor team that is very gettable down there, even at their place at McLean Stadium there, Mitch.
Yeah, and Baylor benched Daquan Finn. They're going with Sawyer Robertson at quarterback, so that's kind of an interesting twist because Finn was such a heralded get for them in the portal. But BYU, if they could get this one, Alex, you're talking about a 5-0 BYU team going into a bye week and in the middle of October with an undefeated record. So huge opportunity for BYU. We do know the kick time and TV info for Utah. They're going to be back at home, and it's a night game. It feels like Utah's had a string of day games for years.
Are they doing are they going to have the full blackout? Is that going to be Utah's blackout game?
I believe so.
Then?
Yes, they're hosting Arizona. Utah's a pretty big favorite already. 8:15 kick on ESPN at Rice-Eccles Stadium. I think Utah rolls in that one.
Two teams are going to be licking their wounds here. They both lost to Utah and BYU respectively, and now they play each other. Oklahoma State has to go to Manhattan. That's an interesting one. Which one of these teams is going to rebound? Man, I don't know, but we'll see. Either way, Mike Gundy will for sure downplay whatever happens in the game. We'll know that for sure.
Iowa State goes on the road at Houston. That's a spot where Iowa State should be able to take care of business. And then two teams that desperately need a win. TCU goes to Kansas. We'll have to. I think it's at Arrowhead Stadium. Kansas hosting the TCU Horned Frogs, so must win for those teams.
What I love about that is that one of these teams is going to be like, we don't know what's going on with our program. Let's just pack it up the rest of the year. Sonny Dykes or Lance Leipold, I have no idea, but it's a shock for both of those teams to be struggling as much as they are. Cincinnati goes to Lubbock to take on Texas Tech. That's actually a more intriguing game than we thought. I mean, Cincinnati's 3-1. Texas Tech has started to figure some things out. Mitch, it might be a nice little game there in Lubbock.
It should be a good one. And then maybe the most intriguing game of the week, Colorado at UCF. This will probably be a nationally televised network television spot. UCF, how legit are they? That ground attack has been so impressive. They got that big win a couple weeks ago at TCU in a comeback. Colorado just keeps finding ways to win, and we'll see what Coach Prime, he's got up his sleeve going down to Orlando. But it's a busy week next week in the Big 12 Conference again.
How about UCF being able to get Colorado at home? They get Utah at home. They get BYU at home. Like, that's that might work out to be pretty nice for them, considering the fact that, R.J. Harvey's like your new Doak Walker, candidate out of the conference. I can't believe how good of a season he's having. Man, lots of good running backs in this conference that are not named Ollie Gordon this year. It's quite wild. Okay, those are your games, though. So from that perspective, we're going to be covering you all week long. BYU at Baylor. Arizona comes to Utah. Those are the teams here locally, of course, we're going to jump into, and then we'll be back again, Mitch, for another edition of First and 12 next week. Can't wait. You're going to be down in Waco. I'll do the pre- and post-game shows, as usual, on VKSL Sports Zone for those BYU games, and we'll be talking about these games all week long. Are you pumped or what, bro?
I cannot wait, Alex. So I'm looking forward to it. Next week we'll be back here on First and 12. It's always brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. Subscribe to the show. Just search First and 12 or Big 12 football.
Oh, wait. Now, hold on a minute. We got to say a shout-out to our illustrious producer, Eric Cabrera.
That's right.
He stays up freaking late every daggum Saturday night and gets this thing done, man. Eric, well done, as usual, man.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you, and we will talk to all of you next week here on First and 12.